is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was excuse me.
This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Live from Peach Time Out in the heart of Times Square. You're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio, the #1 radio show on all of Fort Myers Beach. This is episode number 226, I think, and we are broadcasting live from Peach Time Out.
We know how your math is.
On Fort Myers Beach in Times Square, just a stone's throw away from the new Margaritaville Resort. And if you missed it this morning, we did a 1-hour tour.
You got a 1-hour tour.
That's right. And we survived the 1-hour tour of Margaritaville behind the fence. And
hey, if you get stranded or marooned at Margaritaville, that's not a bad place.
You don't know the half of it. Like, it's so cool to get the tour from.
How cool is it?
It's so cool to get the tour. Not only get the tour, but get the tour from Tom Torgerson, who's put so much of his emotion and 7 years in the making into something that's now about 14 months away from opening.
I'm sure some blood, sweat, and definitely tears went into it.
The pool area, of course, he's proud of the whole thing, but you can just see when you look over the pool area how cool it's going to be from the different angles. And then you look over and on the 4th floor and the 3rd floor, looking out at the terrace, that's going to be 43,000 square feet where you can see the fireworks and the boat races and the view and the sunset and the sunrise and all that. It's just, it's amazing. It's coming along nice. And
can I ask you, did you make a reservation for us?
Here's the deal. 330 local people that have 33931 zip code. Well, that, I guess that crosses us out. 1331. They're allowed 330 locals to get a day pass, even if they don't stay in the resort, and they'll get a discount and they can go to the pool. What Tom explained about the pool that I didn't know was that there's going to be like live entertainment in the pool. But we'll talk about that after the show. Stay tuned for more of my reflections on. I'll read the opening. We'll get back to the opening because Cindy's on her way and she's on crutches for some reason. All right, everybody, before we get rolling, we always love to thank our sponsors because without our sponsors, it would be, just the two of us sitting here babbling and babbling and babbling. And our newest sponsor, go ahead, dear, Royal Scoop Ice Cream, the official ice cream of Beach Talk Radio, rather than the unofficial ice cream of Beach Talk Radio. Royal Scoop is located down by Tuckaway Cafe, and we'll tell you more about the Royal Scoop in just a bit. Sun Palace Vacations, Fort Myers Beach Realty, Fort Myers Tiki Tours, Nervous Nellies, Mangaritas, State Insurance USA, La Ola Restaurant, Coastal Vacation Properties. These are all our great sponsors. Is your morning tour on YouTube yet? You know what, Mitch? Not yet. I will have to move that onto YouTube because I did it on my phone. Thank you. I'm going to make a note of that, Mitch. I appreciate that. Let's see. The Farmers Market at Beach Baptist, which is opening up again later in the fall. Island Carts FMB. You see all those cool carts tooling around. JPS Vacation Rentals helping out with our 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week music station, which has no commercials, thanks to them. And Peach Time Out. And we always like to thank you guys that donate to us. We had 3 great donations just yesterday. We appreciate the $100 from Pam, Jim Farley, $25. Jana gave us $50 right out of the blue, and that was super cool. And so you can support us by going to supportbtr.com. If you like the tours and you like the show and you like everything else that we do with the newsletter and the website, you can support us that way. Dear, you got to turn the camera just a tad. Good morning. Cindy is here. Cindy, how are you?
Great.
Nice to see you. And Kim's going to fix the camera so everyone can see you. There you are. Now, Cindy, Kim was practicing your name to make sure we said your last name correctly. Go ahead, dear. Give it a shot.
I'm going to give it a shot. Beignet.
You got it.
Now,
I usually say hooray, hooray for beignet.
Can we get you a drink to start off the morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we doing beers or Bloody Marys?
Whatever you
would
it's
like.
On us.
I like Bloody Mary. That way I get a little bit of vitamins.
Nice.
There you
Angela, can we get a Bloody Mary for our guest? All right.
Watch your foot there.
Cindy, the first thing, let everybody know you are running for Congress against Byron Donalds. You're a Democrat. He's a Republican. It's just you two right now?
So actually, there is a Republican challenger in the primary.
I see.
So I'm
who's
the
that?
Democratic nominee.
Okay.
There's a fellow named Jim Huff that is challenging Byron Donalds.
Never heard of him.
Was there someone, though, in your category before and then they bowed out? Or
So there was a guy named Patrick Post who is a write-in.
Okay.
He's a really nice fellow. His big thing is pushing sustainability and solar energy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily always run to get elected, but he runs because he wants to tell people about that issue.
Well, we cannot forget what we need to do first, Cindy. What we do first is we throw a round of speed questions at you.
Woo! All right.
They have nothing to do with politics. They gives our audience an opportunity to know who Cindy is. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The clock is rolling. You have 60 seconds.
Dog or a cat person?
Both, but I have cats now.
Favorite city outside of Southwest Florida?
Taipei.
Favorite
That's
city?
way out.
Where?
Taipei.
I thought you said you were type A.
No. Type O, but no, Taipei.
Is that somewhere in China?
Taiwan.
I see. They're about to be part of China.
Well, China thinks it's part of China, but in reality, they're their own thing.
I see. Last vacation was? I'm surprised this is stumping you. Maybe you haven't been on one.
Oh, I took my kids to Disney over spring break.
Nice.
Does
Disney.
that count? I think so.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
First job.
My first job was 2 jobs: Toys R Us and the movie theater.
Very cool. What did you do at the movie theater?
Tickets,
Whatever.
popcorn.
Gotcha.
Childhood hero.
My mom.
Yeah.
Very nice. The best day of your life was?
We always say this. We said this last time. Can't be like a day you got married or a day you had your children.
I was going to say the day I got divorced, but
okay.
Hey, fair enough. Hey, got to be honest.
I was trying to be a little bit more positive, but
You want to pick a second one just in case?
How about the day I became the Democratic nominee in
There you
2020?
go. All right. Favorite TV show growing up was?
That's my
Growing up, South Park.
All right.
Wow.
First time for that.
Yeah. How old?
Don't ask her how old
I'm
she is.
42.
Okay.
How dare you ask somebody their age? I can't believe you did that.
It's out there everywhere.
Listen, my 5-year-old, that's her favorite question. She asked me it like 5 times a day.
No, I'm just trying to gauge what was popular.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean,
isn't
I'm
South
so
Park
old,
still
I don't
on in some
remember.
form?
South Park is still on, but it started when I was in high school.
Right. Now,
Okay.
she usually asks how much you make after that. So
No, that's not true.
You don't have
so
to answer
what was
that if
your
you don't want
favorite
to.
show like when you
Like
were
a little kid?
Like, 8 or 9, 10.
DuckTales.
Okay. There you go.
DuckTales. I don't even know what that is. Who is your favorite superhero?
I don't remember that
I
question.
added that
Batman.
in.
Oh, okay.
Batman, of course. Yeah. Now, is that Batman on the TV show? Who was Batman on the TV show? Do you remember who
Adam
that was?
West.
Very good.
Yeah, nice.
No.
Yes.
Now,
No,
who was the first Batman in the movie?
Michael Keaton.
Yes, very
Wow.
nice. Look at her.
I
She
know.
should be elected just for her
There you go. Just for
trivia
my Batman
knowledge.
Well, then let me ask this question. Smartest person you know?
Can't be your parents.
Smartest person I know.
Can't be Byron Donalds.
How about my
For some
daughter?
space.
My
There
oldest
you go.
daughter.
Nice.
That's
Very
nice.
smart, very astute young woman.
What did you want to be growing up?
Oh, yeah.
President.
Very good. Yeah. Of what? The Glee Club, the United
Of
States,
the
or
United States,
I see. Go ahead, dear. You can have the finale.
So if you knew your time was up, what last meal, or you found yourself on death row, what last meal would you have from start to finish?
Pizza?
It's
I don't know.
That's
it's
fine.
so funny because some people have very elaborate answers super quick. And like me, it was the same thing. I was like, I don't really know. But there are people that have specific, very specific things.
No, I don't have anything specific.
Someone
I like
said,
food.
well, besides other things, I think it was Matt called well-cooked asparagus. I was like, okay, we're getting really specific.
No
now.
kidding. Yeah.
With a ribeye steak. I mean, he had other
Wow.
stuff, but yeah, it was
Oh.
specific.
Well, it all gets
Giving it some thought.
the rest of the questions are easier for the
Okay.
rest of the show. So,
Yeah,
no,
right.
I mean, those are done. So you went to Washington D.C. after the Roe versus Wade rule. I'm not even sure if that was the reason, but I'm guessing because it was around that. Okay, you went to D.C. and got arrested.
That's right.
Was that your plan to get arrested? And did the cops beat you up and you have a broken leg because of it? She came in with a
No.
big giant cast on her leg. What happened there?
So, okay, let me tell you the story about my leg first. So the story about my leg is that I was actually celebrating Memorial Day with some friends. We had rented a boat, took it out to our beautiful beaches here, beached it up, spent a wonderful day. Tide started to go out. We were about to leave. My youngest daughter, Evie, started to get pulled under the boat by the tide, and she started screaming. Oh, here's my Bloody Mary. Thank you. She started screaming for mom,
yeah.
and
Oh.
Mama Bear jumped into action. So I
Horrible.
jumped over the side of the boat, grabbed her and my friend's daughter, got them safely to shore, slumped down in the water, said, I think I broke my leg, guys.
Oh.
And I did. I broke my leg in 3 places,
Oh.
destroyed my ankle, had to have surgery. So
Did you break it jumping and then you
Yeah.
didn't know how deep it was
Yeah.
and it was shallow?
yeah, the tide was
I
going
see.
out. Earlier in the day, it was like 4 to 5 feet. And then when I jumped in, it was only like 2 to 3 feet.
Oh.
So yeah,
The kids
did
are
a,
okay.
did a number on it.
Kids were okay. Did they
Kids
take in
were
any
okay.
water?
Yeah, huh?
Did they take in any water? Or?
No, they were good. She actually had a life jacket on, but it was being pulled. She was being pulled under the boat, and I just
Oh,
didn't want her to
God.
get trapped under the boat too.
God, no.
Oh,
So
no.
it was, yeah, it's just one of those things. You spring into action to
Good
take care
things
of your
don't
kids.
happen when that
So,
happens. Yeah.
No.
Okay,
so that was the leg.
how long do you have to have the cast on? And are you getting any sympathy votes for it?
So this is my 3rd cast actually. So this is now my walking cast. I'm a month into my recovery. So
How long ago did this happen?
Memorial Day.
Oh, she said that earlier.
Yes,
Sorry,
she did.
I can't remember anything.
Just it's not that he's not listening to you.
I'm just dumb.
It's that he doesn't have a good memory.
gotta-
It's so yeah, it's bad.
No.
And yeah.
No problem.
So you
And
went to Washington.
DC, right. So I was like many folks when the Dobbs versus Jackson ruling came down from the Supreme Court. We knew that this was likely to be overturned because of the leak, and so people were planning protests, right? That's part of our First Amendment right. And I was working with some other activists, and they had this planned civil disobedience. There was a rally at a church behind the Supreme Court. About 1,000 people marched from the church down in front of the Supreme Court, and then the planned civil disobedience was to sit in the intersection of Constitution and First and have a sit in there. It was
block
very
traffic.
blocking traffic. Yes. And 181 of us did that. It was all in coordination. It was all planned. We worked together with the Capitol Police, who were great. It was very well organized. They knew that we were going to do this. They gave us the warnings. You're
Going to
you're
be
violating,
arrested
you're going to
Right.
be arrested. It's like, are you participating in this? And yes, we were.
because you block traffic.
Because we block traffic.
Okay.
So of course you can protest, but you can't block
Sure.
traffic. And the point is that to make a stand so that everybody would, know that there are these folks who are engaging in this activity.
So how many warnings did they give you? Like
3.
So 3 warnings.
Oh yeah.
So
And so you planned. You guys were gonna no matter what. It
Right.
wasn't enough to do it. And I'm just asking. It wasn't enough to do it. And then like 2.5, like when your mother counts. Before I get to 3, to
I'm
just
on the sidewalk. I'm off the sidewalk.
to get
I'm
on the
I'm off
sidewalk
the
and then
sidewalk.
continue, because once you got to go, then it's over.
Yeah. And this is a very like I said, it was very structured, very planned. This is what a lot of people do for a lot of different issues
Mhm,
here and have. And DC police, Capitol Police are very used to this. And actually my assistant, who's walking up now with my other kids, she was actually helping me. I was in the wheelchair at the time. She wheeled me right up,
Right in front of the car.
right in
Right in
front of
front
the
of the
cops.
cars.
And the cops run a line. And basically once you pass the line, they're like, if you pass this line,
I see.
you
You're
are
part
at
of
risk
the,
to be arrested. She did not want to participate in that. So she basically handed me off to another activist.
I see.
And then we wheeled in there, and then we sat in the street with our signs.
Do you know all these people?
Yeah,
Those
that's
are all
her
my
sis-
kids
yeah.
and my
okay.
assistant.
I
We-
see.
yes.
Because you're looking over there like they're
No.
sitting at the table and they
Here's
don't.
the thing. The issue
She's
with
okay though.
she's okay because the servers get back in there. So I always try to have most people sit on that
She's
side.
fine though. She's in a good. So now, what was I going to say? Oh, did they cuff you in the chair?
So they didn't, because there was so many people. They
Yeah.
actually set up a processing station right in the park next to it. So they took us, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, walked us in there with our arresting officer. They had kind of taped off with who the arresting officer was, and then they processed us. And
so did you get fingerprinted and mugshotted and the whole thing?
Fingerprinted and mugshotted, and it's like a ticket though. It's not even a misdemeanor. It's below a misdemeanor.
What is it? What's the ticket for? What's the actual violation?
Obstructing traffic.
I see. So there's a mugshot. Are you smiling in the mugshot, or
there is? Both me and the arresting officer were smiling. That's how they did it in the park.
You took it together.
We took it together.
Oh well. So
it sounds like, yes, like you said,
the first thing,
very well organized. Like they're used to it, and
right.
Unlike January 6th, little disorganized.
That was disorganized. This was very organized. Like I said, I was really. We worked well with the Capitol Police.
They knew what you were going to do.
Yeah, they knew what we were doing. We were respectful of them. They were respectful of us.
Did you get the amount of media attention you were looking for after the?
I actually got more
because you're in the wheelchair.
Because I was in the wheelchair, and they wheeled me right to the front. So I was actually in all of the photos for Washington Post, Reuters, Associated Press.
Yep. Did you have running for Congress on your shirt somehow?
Yeah, we actually had specially shirts made for it.
So the first thing I thought when you said 181 people, not a lot.
That got arrested.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, there was probably about 1,000 of us that had marched from that church. And then when we got to the line of the police officers who were saying, okay, if you go in the intersection, you're going to get arrested.
Right. But a kind of ruling like that, 1,000 people is still not a lot of protests.
You know, it was on a Thursday.
Okay.
You know, you gotta. There's a lot of things that went into it. The police officers actually had said that this was the largest civil disobedience that they had seen since the Vietnam era.
Really?
Yep.
People need to stand up for more things. I mean, holy Christmas. Maybe the country's just running so well that they don't need to protest anymore.
Peacefully.
And it's different. It's not like it was not the largest rally gathering, but this type of thing where everybody's engaging in the civil disobedience, where they know they're going to be arrested.
Yeah. Gotcha. So
well, it was a big, I mean, it was a big topic. It caused a big. Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to talk about the abortion thing because it's not really. It's important, obviously, majorly important, but it's not a local thing like what you're running for. But the question that always comes to mind with the abortion thing is that it's kind of like the government tells you to wear a mask and you have to wear a mask, and then it's not illegal to have an abortion now. It's going to separate red and blue even more. It's not illegal to have an abortion now. You can go to a different state, and I'm guessing your thought is that it's causing hardship on people that have to travel to a different state. But I mean, do you not think that is your position that it's not a child or it's a child at a certain point? What is your position on that? When is a child a child?
So for me, I actually have a way that I describe it for my personal beliefs, because I'm a Catholic, and it's not something that I would choose personally for myself. And that's my core belief. However, when it comes to our government and our freedom, I don't think I get to choose for other people. And this situation ends up becoming a medical situation for so many people so often. And it's really complicated. And it should be
complicated and nuanced. Yes.
Right. It should be a decision that a woman and her doctor are making based on her particular circumstances, and it shouldn't be the government, and it shouldn't be me that makes that decision for them.
But then does your opinion change when the government tells you have to wear a mask and you have to get vaccinated? They're encroaching on your body the same way.
Right.
Well, not the same way. They're telling you to put something in there that really doesn't work.
Well, so my position on that too is a little bit different because there's an external effect. And the way that we had the mask mandates and vaccines was a public health concern. So it was beyond just the individual person and their doctor. It was how that individual person interacts with everybody else that they come in contact with. And the way that we did that here in Florida was there was often a way that you could choose, right? So if you go into a certain situation like the schools, they had masks to protect the teachers and the children. But if you go out by yourself in the parking lot, you don't have to wear a mask. So for me, it's a nuanced situation. And you have more ability to control yourself. So if you don't want to participate in the situation where you have to go and wear a mask, you didn't necessarily have to go.
I'm not talking about the mask so much as I'm talking about the vaccine. Like if you got the vaccine for polio, you didn't get polio. You were guaranteed, for the most part, not to get polio. If you get the vaccine for COVID, your chances are you're still going to get COVID.
Well, that's
it's not really a vaccine.
They're different viruses, and they were different types of vaccines. And actually, the vaccines both work in the same way. They mitigate your chances of getting the most severe case, right? So there were no mandates for vaccines that came down from the government, with the exception of the OSHA mandate that was put down and then subsequently struck down in court. So there wasn't this broad spread, you must get this. It was based on employers, and it was based on various situations. So hospitals, by the way, hospital and healthcare employees have always had to get vaccines for all sorts of different things. You have to get an annual flu shot to work in the hospital as well. So that's their culture and that's their decisions, because that's their business. It wasn't a government mandate.
Okay, so just one more question on these two things. Where do you believe life begins?
So personally, I believe that life begins at first breath. And that's part of what is in the Old Testament of the Bible.
Wait, first breath meaning as soon as
when
the baby's born.
Right? And we celebrate birthdays. Now, as somebody who's been pregnant many times and had children, I know that after, midway through your pregnancy, you can feel the child in there. And so that's when I say my personal beliefs. I know that child inside me is breathing and kicking and moving and stuff like that. And it wouldn't be a choice that I would make. But I want to also put out there that there are circumstances that you don't necessarily know what happens. And I'll tell you a story of a dear friend of mine who had a child. She's got 4 children. She wants to have more, had a desperately wanted child that she was pregnant with. And then when she was about 16 weeks along, found out that the child had trisomy 9, which is a condition that's not compatible with life. The child is going to grow without a brain stem. And basically, if she carried the child to term, she would then watch the child suffocate and die a very slow and painful death in front of her. So the decision and the recommendation for her best health and for that of the child was to terminate the pregnancy at that point.
There's certainly nuances like that are hard to, for me anyway, hard to wrap my mind around those situations. But when I believe life begins at conception, is that wrong?
Yes, because medically speaking, that fertilized egg, 20% of the time is not even going to make it to a pregnancy. And that's another thing that we don't talk a lot about here in the United States, or basically anywhere, is that there's a very large portion of pregnancies that end up in miscarriage. And one of the big concerns about the Dobbs ruling and about having an oversimplistic way that it's regulated at the state level is that it could criminalize miscarriage. And that's really scary. I had a miscarriage before I had my youngest daughter, and I didn't know what to do. Not to get too graphic, but I caught the baby in my hand. It's horrifying. And I'm like, oh, what do I even do? I don't know.
Right.
But to think that I could have been in that situation, horrifying, awful, terrible situation, and face the possibility of criminal prosecution because I couldn't prove that it was a miscarriage versus I did something to induce that is really scary for a lot of women.
So I know I keep saying I don't want to, but
let's move on.
But her perspective is different, dear, because we can't have this discussion at home. We just yell at each other.
Yeah.
And you're not yelling at me yet.
No,
so
I'm not going to yell at
my last question, I promise, is, so I believe that life begins at, I'm not trying to get anybody's shit about this. I mean, I don't, but
you're entitled to your opinion,
right.
but it's
anything.
an opinion.
I don't, but if life doesn't begin at conception, why is an abortion needed?
Oh, you in this
because
question.
it grows into the possibility of a child, right? Because early on, like I said, 20% of, and potentially even more, but that's just the best estimate that we have of pregnancies early on don't even make it to the point of being a viable pregnancy. And so the point I want to go back to is this, and I want to pick up on what you said, is that is a belief.
Did I get something out? Because he usually just runs ramshot over me.
But the thing is, and this is why America is great, honestly, is that you can have that belief, and I can have my beliefs and I can have my personal beliefs, but that the government doesn't get to decide that we have the freedom to take the medical care that we have and that we need between ourselves and our doctors and do what we need for our life. And that's what's amazing.
Right. The only reason I'm
country.
smiling is that because it's not consistent. The government, if the government was going to be consistent, then they wouldn't have forced the vaccine on people the way they were trying to.
You still got to choose.
Because it didn't work.
Yeah, but you
anyway,
still got to choose not to get the vaccine.
Shut my mouth.
All right, but you still got to choose.
Right.
You know, people who don't want to vaccinate their kids,
you don't need to argue.
Don't
with me.
have
this
to
is her
vaccinate
show.
their kids. But
stop arguing with me.
When you go to enroll in school,
you can argue with me later.
When you go to enroll in school, you
We're
can
argue
do
later,
what you
by the
want
way.
to do, but there are consequences.
Here, don't feel like you need to correct me.
Right.
Cindy's
She's
running for
not
office.
trying to
I am not
correct
running
you.
for office.
I vacillate on the issues, which is why I'm middle of the road. But
she's not middle of the road. She's middle of the road on the show. When she's at home and there's no microphone on, Cindy. Now, Cindy, what I want to.
She's a raging liberal.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes. The issues are different. I mean, it's not black and white.
Of course.
But I'm. You would call me a flip flopper, but that's just having an opinion.
I don't call you
about
anything
things.
but my lover. That's all I call you.
Please don't
So,
call
Cindy,
me that. And her children are here.
The thing that always interests me about Lee County is it really has become a Republican machine. Like, what the Democrats just can't seem to get in the fight. What is going on there? How is it? Why is it such a struggle? Like, help me understand. Am I wrong, first of all, or?
Well, a little bit. So let me push back on the idea that we're solely a Republican county. So we do have a very large in the county Republican registration, but we also have a very large nonpartisan affiliated registration.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just. I pulled up the numbers from 2020. I mean, it's a lot.
Registered
It's a lot to come
Democrats
over.
are, it used to be almost thirds. And yes, we've lost a lot of ground in terms of the registrations to Republicans. But that nonpartisan affiliated component is a big wild card for us here, because a lot of those folks are left leaning. A lot of those people are folks that just don't want to affiliate with a party. I'll say that on that. So let me talk about my Democratic friends, because this is something that one of the reasons why I decided to run. My background, and I told you one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to be president. I love our government. I love our democracy. I love our Constitution, and I have since I was a kid. I mean, listen, during the first Gulf War, I was watching the news, taking notes. I mean, that's how into what was going on I was.
That's when there used to be real news too.
Right. And you were watching it, and I was very involved. I had Norman Schwarzkopf playing cards. Okay. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like the
I didn't even know they
action
existed.
card.
And I watched the war.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
when
I
Bernard
was
Shaw was a big deal. Remember him?
Colin Powell.
Yeah.
I got all the
all
guys.
the dead guys now.
Yes.
Were there actually 52 cards in that deck?
No. It was like they were like baseball cards.
You know what deck of cards I have? The deck of cards that George Bush had in his desk with all the killing. No, I don't have those, but that would be a
My
cool
dad has
deck to
those.
have.
Okay. That's a different thing. Okay. So, but anyway, so I spent my life like researching how government works. My assistant Megan and I were working on Capitol Hill back in 1999. And then I went abroad and I studied and researched how we can make government work better for people. And
where did you go to school?
I did my undergraduate at Michigan State, studied international relations and psychology. Then I did my master's and my PhD in Japan.
Okay.
Studying international relations and good governance.
And our hats off to the people in Japan who lost their, I don't even know what you call
former
him.
Prime Minister
Prime
Shinzo
Minister,
Abe.
yeah. He got assassinated.
I know. Shocking.
When does that happen in Japan?
Never. Well, if you run afoul of the Yakuza, they will shoot you. The mayor of Nagasaki actually lost his life about 10, 15 years ago.
What is the Yakuza? Kim doesn't know.
The
Just
Yakuza
explain
is
it
like
to
the
her.
Japanese mafia.
Wow. Is that who killed him? So you think?
She's not going to say. She doesn't want them to come here.
You are a conspiracy theorist, aren't you,
No,
Cindy?
no. I mean, I lived in Japan for 5 years. And I had actually met Prime Minister Abe before he was Prime Minister when I was there. I had worked for the Japanese government, actually, while I was there as well. It's a terrible tragedy in a place that has very few guns. And you saw the fellow who made his own gun.
When I heard what you have to go
that's
through.
going to jump off into that.
No, we don't own
I knew,
any.
I knew what I was going to jump into.
No, we don't own any guns. We're not gun owners.
No,
or
I
anything
just
like
mean
that. No.
just the discussion of it.
No,
Just-
what I'm saying is I heard what you have to go through in Japan to even own a gun. It's crazy. Like, it's nothing like the United States.
I mean, and really, it's a safe place. The police officers usually don't even have a gun.
Really?
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, it's
Because they could karate chop you to death for sure, right? I mean, hi-yi.
I mean, everybody follows
oh,
the
come on.
rules. Everybody follows the rules there. I mean,
Yeah.
so, you know.
well, except for those Yakuzas.
Well, the Yakuzas have their own rules. So
Yeah.
they're
All right.
they're the exception.
What were you talking about before?
I was talking about my love of government,
That's
actually,
right.
and how it
Yes.
started. So,
Boy, good thing you can get back on
No kidding.
track.
I would never have remembered how we got off track.
you know, I was saying, you know, I've written, published, studied my whole life. I wanted to be the best person who understood how this thing works for us, so I could be in a position to lead us. And I had been behind the scenes for a long time. Like I said, I worked in the Senate offices. I worked in administration in this country, in Japan. I had actually coached other government officials from around the world, more than 25 countries, on how to develop policy that was efficient and effective. Evaluation,
I didn't know
measuring
that.
it, picking a goal and going towards it. Eureka, right?
Right.
But then I realized in Lee County, because that's what we were talking about, what's going on with my Democratic friends is that we didn't have a lot of people who really had that level of experience, right? We had some people who were, you know, lifelong Democrats, down for the cause, a lot of retirees, you know, that's how our area works. But we really didn't have anybody who wanted to step up in that way, because it's a hard run to run as a Democrat here. But
Yeah.
I put myself forward as somebody who could talk about whatever, be kind to people who have different views,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Engage in that conversation because I love it. And then actually talk about the policies that I think are best and tell you why, because that's my area of expertise. I teach American government at a university.
So let's
here.
talk about that. So let's talk about the Constitution. Do you believe the Constitution should be interpreted as it is written, or it should be an evolving document?
Before you answer that, I just want to point out to everybody at home that didn't he say, oh, I don't want to talk about blah, blah, blah. I want to
Dear,
talk about local issues.
sometimes-
And here we are.
Dear, sometimes
Uh-huh.
your guest says something that ignites another
Okay.
question. You got to pick up on
Let me
it.
get a drink here.
Yeah.
while I
Yes.
Jump in on
It's
this.
just
So,
going to get worse between the two of us, Cindy.
Yes.
And if we wind up ignoring you at some point,
And
don't take
just
it personally.
Break out into a brawl.
we're good. I'll just have the rest of my bloody
There you go.
It's a drink
No,
break.
so I really believe that the Constitution was set up to be an evolving document, and it had been since the Second Continental Congress. I mean, we already had the Articles of Confederation that solely put the states' rights forefront, right? And the reason that didn't work is because then there was no reason for us to cooperate, right? So when we had the Constitution come up and then we had the ability to amend it, that was really our founding fathers telling us, we know that things aren't going to be the same today as they will be in the future. And we want to make sure that you have the ability to amend this document, this amazing framework that we've set up this country, the first of its kind in history, so that you can continue to be the beacon on the hill.
So you said states' rights, which is an interesting thing
Oh, boy.
because if you back up just for a second now, what the Supreme Court did was they actually
Here we go.
said in 1972, and even Ruth Bader Ginsburg kind of insinuated that it was weak. Not getting to specifics of abortion, but what the
argument.
what the Supreme Court did was said this belongs in the states because of the states' rights. Now, isn't that correct?
That was what the Dobbs ruling essentially told us. And to be fair, like I said, going all the way back to the Articles of Confederation, this has been a dialogue in the United States the whole time.
What
It
has?
was the compromise, states' rights.
Yes.
States versus federalism. Like, how do we do this thing? And really, it's almost like a Goldilocks principle to a certain extent. It's like we're always trying to find that perfect balance of enough of a federalism concept that there's a point for us to stay together, and enough leeway that the states can govern in the way that they see best for their people. And I think it's an iterative discussion, and it goes back and forth, and it goes all the way up to the chain.
But on states' rights, was the ruling right to send it back to the states?
Was it right? So listen, I don't know what the Goldilocks point is. We're always trying to find it, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is we are always going back and forth between states' rights and a national government to find that. And I think that what we're seeing, my opinion, my analysis is actually this is more of what I would call a rubber band snapback, right? That we had gone through a period where a lot of things had been swinging towards the national government and away from the states' governments. And there was pushback. And so we actually snapped back and are probably going to continue pulling back even further in the direction of states' rights.
So the pendulum,
which is okay.
I mean, it's okay.
Do you think it's okay?
Like I said, I'm looking for the Goldilocks.
Okay.
I'm looking for the Goldilocks, and I think we're swinging back over here, and then we're going to have people that'll fight, and we'll come back, and we'll try to pull it back to the other, and maybe they'll overshoot and swing us back here, and then we're going to pull back over here. This really is the push and pull of our nation since our inception.
Yeah, and it's been that way from the beginning days. People think it's crazy now because they're living in it, but it was crazy then too. I mean, do you think that?
Well, it's crazy now. I think due in part to what we're doing right now, which is when you have social media, you get so much more out,
right,
and not always accurate, or sometimes.
Well, we're
not
accurate.
very often accurate. And so it feels like there's more because it's more accessible, it's more available, and there's more platforms for people to express their views no matter what that may be.
You were protesting, and protesting is part of what
First
makes
Amendment, right to
America
redress.
great. Do you think it's okay for people to protest outside the Supreme Court justices' houses and things like that, or is that going too far?
It's not the way that I would protest.
Okay.
Let me say that.
That's fair.
But I will also say I don't like to curtail the way that people express themselves. I do think that even public figures have a right to privacy. So like the difference between somebody's house versus a restaurant, I would say probably house, not so much. If you're at a restaurant, then you're in public.
Well, if you're not infringing on the business and if private property, but that was the last thing. The Kavanaugh had to go out the back door of the restaurant the other day. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, talking about people having the right to express themselves, is there a point on your benchmark? Is there on your line where it's too much? Like it may be legal, but it's too much. Personally, I mean, you're not legally, and we've already established people can say, hold signs with whatever images, but is there a point you have where you're like, no?
I mean, definitely like when we're starting to have violence and temperatures rising where people are going to conflict, that's too much for me. But again, everything else, on signs and stuff like that, like I said, going to people's houses, even, bird dogging them at restaurants and stuff. I mean, I don't like it. But it's not my style. There's the legality of it it's not illegal, but it's definitely not the style. It's not the type of protest I would organize. Let me say that.
I was talking about, the situation down here.
Grade Governor DeSantis's job.
On what?
How he's running the state.
I am not a fan of Governor DeSantis on a lot of different things. And here, let me tell you why. Because my biggest concern is that he is consolidating a lot of power behind him. And actually, Republicans should be worried as well. This term, nothing went to the Florida legislature that wasn't what's called part of the leadership agenda. Right. So even other Republicans that were elected weren't allowed to put forth bills in a serious way that weren't part of his agenda. And that's not really how our democracy is supposed to work. Our representatives are supposed to be able to go in, and if their constituents want, a certain piece of legislation put forward, they should be able to do that. He's also done a lot of things that actually consolidate behind him, things in the public schools, the universities. And that's the biggest fear for me, because I can disagree on other components of the policy. And one of them, which is he actually ended up vetoing, but that threatened home rule. So there was one that said if a local rule, local ordinance affects a business more than 15%, then it can be shot down by the state. Now that should really, really worry everybody, because that essentially means our city council, our county commissioners can't do anything without the approval of the Florida legislature. And that is simply not how things are supposed to work.
Okay, so grade President Biden's job so far.
Give him a solid C.
Okay, all right. Her dad gave him
What my dad give?
like a B or something. Your dad's
well,
too far over.
A B from my dad.
Yeah,
that says something.
No, maybe he said A. I don't even remember. See, I can't remember anything. That was 2 weeks ago. I mean, he's not only struggling with his. It seems like his age. He's getting picked on about his age, but even it seems like the Democrats are abandoning him now.
So I really try not to engage in these, what I would call like ad hominem attacks, right? Like I don't like to say people are old or fat or ugly or stuff like that, because that's just devolves into childishness. But when I look at President Biden, I know progressives in particular are very upset that he's not using his office more. And people are worried about how he's presenting his leadership. Now, I give him a C, he's done some positive things. I think we needed a bit of calmness coming out of 2020. And I think that he's provided that. But his style, he's been called the half loaf president before, because that was the way that he had worked. You never heard of that?
No.
Well, you're probably going to want to use this from now on, because it's actually what it means is that, and this is why Democrats, especially the progressive wing of the party, are feeling dissatisfied, because a lot of people want change immediately, right? They want the whole thing right now, and they're not really ready for incremental change. Biden, when he was a senator, was called the half loaf senator because he was willing to compromise. And if basically everybody got half, that was okay. The problem with compromise is that nobody leaves happy. And so everybody gets a little, but nobody gets everything they want. So then what does everybody do? Go back out in the social media and the media realm, and they complain about the things they didn't get.
Yeah.
But for me,
don't you think that's just the way it's going to be? I mean, you have to have compromise.
I agree. I was going to say, for me, that governance style I like, because that is engaging with other sides. That is engaging with different views. And it actually moves everybody in a way that feels, and it's more sustainable, feels comfortable and is more sustainable, right? If you rip off the Band-Aid, you're going to get people who are upset, right? But unfortunately, in the day of age of media, social media, and constant criticism,
and people are so polarized.
Right.
I mean, they're either way over here or way over there.
Do you blame the high gas prices on them?
I don't, because we have a free market economy, and the president does not control the gas prices.
But he did shut down the Keystone Pipeline. You can't refine there's a whole bunch of issues.
So the Keystone Pipeline was not going to give us gas anyway, or get an oil anyway. And the biggest problem right now that you bring up with the Keystone Pipeline is that it has to do with processing. One of the reasons the prices are so high right now has to do with the limited capacity of the processing facilities,
right?
Not just the crude
because of the regulations in the Biden administration.
No, not because of the regulations. It's because of the global economy and the way all the disruptions that we've had in the way that we do business around the world. Gas prices, we have the cheapest gas prices in the world, except for a few other countries.
That's not good enough, though. So what do you say to people? I know we keep talking about the national. Well, Congress is national anyway. So what do you say to people who say that this is the plan of this administration because they want to push people into electric and push people into buying those $70,000 cars? Not part of the plan. Wasn't part of the plan.
It's not part of the plan.
But the gas prices were a lot lower under dumb Trump.
Well, they were lower because of COVID and nobody was going anywhere.
All right. Well, there was part of that, but they were still lower during. I mean,
Before.
not just
that was like
COVID.
2 years.
Yeah.
Come on, let's be honest.
All right. It's your call.
The beginning of the beginning of the Trump administration, it was about the same. If you
as it is now?
Yeah.
I can't remember back that
I don't
far.
remember it being 4, but I remember 3.
Yeah, it was 3.
I remember 3. I don't remember.
It was
4.
high, and then it dropped because nobody went anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had high gas prices, and it's the thing that I always.
But people are still going places.
They are.
So
But
how
again,
are people
it's the
doing
processing.
that? How are people with this high gas prices and inflation? There are people that are still buying houses and doing a lot of stuff.
I don't know those people buying houses because I got pushed out of my house because of the housing crisis, and now
really?
I have to live out in
Speaking
Buckingham.
of that,
Well, that's not a
which
bad place to
Buckingham
live.
is
It's beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. So speaking of that, what about workforce and or affordable housing here? I mean, here on the beach, but here in the county
Oh yeah. So I've actually
or the district.
Yeah, I've been working on this. We have known for more than a decade that we have an affordable housing crisis. I've worked on it. I've done a lot of research on it in terms of what we need for people to be able to afford housing.
And what is
prices.
that? What do we need?
So the last time I calculated, which was a couple years ago, so I would say we probably need to bump it up even more. But in order for a family to live, let's say you're a single mom with 2 kids, right? That single mom, the single earner in the household, is going to have to make about $23 an hour in order to afford food, gas. And that was before the big inflation, right? And the fact of the matter is that we have a donut economy. We have a lot of jobs that don't pay a lot. And then we have a lot of jobs that pay a lot because we have entrepreneurs, CEO, business owners that are moving down here. We don't have a lot of jobs in the middle. And this has been a struggle for us for a long time. And it's complex. It has everything to do with how our schools work, our roads, our housing. We can't get people like nurses or even general practitioners to move into our area. We've had perennial deficits in those areas because they can't afford to move down. And our economy is not diverse enough that if they have a spouse who's a professional, there's no job for them. So, there are people, leaders in this community that have been looking at this for a long time. And the fact of the matter is we just haven't had any great solutions, and we haven't had the political will to invest in anything.
And what would that investment look like?
There's a lot of different ways that we could do it. One of them would be prioritizing the way that we have our land use planning to make it possible to have affordable housing or smaller housing. Unfortunately, in Lee County, our land use planning prioritizes luxury housing and single family units. In a lot of areas, we also have caps on how high they can be in certain areas. And so changing some of that can actually make it easier to build affordable housing. Other things that could help in an immediate situation would be like a rental increase cap, like they're trying to do in Collier County. And then also things like making, even if people want to do luxury housing, making sure that there's a mixed capacity in it. So reserving a certain portion that would be at, market rate for 180% plus income in the area. And that's what they do in New York to establish or tackle these problems.
Because down here, we talk about this a lot. There's just, it's the market price of property. It's the lack of property and what's left. How are you going to get a builder to do that?
Right. And that's where you have the mixed use one that comes in. That is something that some areas do. There doesn't seem to be a lot of energy for that here, but actually changing the building codes to make it easier to have multifamily, smaller units, things like that is, there is some energy around it, but it just hasn't been enacted. And also keep in mind that this is policy plus the market, right? So you can only, in a government capacity, and this is, by the way, county, city government folks, right?
You can only push.
You can only do so much. You can only entice private builders and developers to do certain things. But what we also can do from that capacity is make sure that we're not giving subsidies only to luxury developers. We can make it more attractive for people to build affordable housing.
So how is the campaign going? How much money have you raised? I know you're probably going to need a lot.
Yes. So far I've raised almost $80,000, which is double what I raised this time in 2020.
And this is your second run?
This is my second run.
Okay. And so 80,000, you looked up how much
Byron's got millions.
Does he have millions?
Yeah.
Holy
I think
Christmas.
3.
So what?
And that's just on the books.
You can just buy. Wait, what?
That's just on the books. He's also supported by some other PACs. Club for Growth, for instance, put $3 million into his campaign right ahead of the primary. It's one of the reasons that he was pushed over the edge in the primary.
Last year, that primary was nutso.
Goodness.
Did they ever find out who? There was some kind of shenanigans going on at the last minute there. Like somebody said Byron was dropping out of the race, and did they ever find out who did that? What is your theory on that?
No, but one of the prevailing theories was that was an inside job from his campaign. It actually, there's a kind of a political ploy that on election day you set your campaign office on fire to get a bunch of media, and then that bumps you over the edge. Some people have compared the text messages to a modern day version of that. I don't know. I know there's litigation. I know there was an
Right.
FBI
There was a guy in
investigation.
Naples running that Byron blamed it on. Do you remember his name?
I don't think he
Well, that's
called
the
him out.
defamation suit. That
Yeah.
he
Oh, it's a
filed.
defamation suit. Yeah, we don't want to talk
because
about
Byron
anything like
blamed
that.
it on his campaign.
Oh, so
NASCAR.
silly. You know, the thing about the House that's interesting is that it's every 2 years. It's like you're constantly campaigning.
Yep.
So 80,000, you said, is double. Like you can't even. What the hell can you buy with 80,000? I mean,
It's cash in, cash out. But I have a really great team of volunteers,
Okay.
and I do a lot of stuff myself. I mean, I had beaten my Democratic opponent in 2020. I had only, like I said, I had only raised $40,000 up until that point, and he had raised over $250,000.
who is that?
David Holden.
No, again, nobody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know who that
I
is?
beat him by 16 points, and that
Nice.
was because money is a part of it, and money will buy you a lot of airtime.
Right.
But the grassroots operation, which is how I'm running, is the power of the people.
So is that where you put your money is into on air stuff? Okay.
TV, right? You got to
TV.
buy TV ads.
Right now, I'm paying a handful of staff. I mean, we're all working class folks. That's the other thing. I still have to work every day.
Yeah. Right.
I still have to take my kids to school.
Where do you
and
work?
camp.
At the college, right?
Yeah, so I'm on faculty in the Department of Political Science and Public Administration. I'm off for the summer.
Now,
Um,
you say political science. Are you teaching, like, what are you teaching?
I teach American government and global studies.
So when you teach American government, is it just straight down the line American government, or
It
are
is.
you okay? Like,
So actually, what I do, and I know people, you can look at my evaluations. I'm always known as one of the most middle of the road people. I never put my opinions on folks, and if I ever say my opinion, I go, "This is my opinion. You can think what you want."
during class, you're talking
Yeah.
about. Okay.
But I teach. It's very simple. It's very simple. I want people to understand how our government works, and I want them to have an appreciation for it. And then I want them to understand the issue. So we go through very simple part of how the government works and some of the things that led us to this point, like the Mayflower contract, the consent to be governed, and just how amazing that was given the time. But then we do what's called deliberative dialogues. So we pick issues and we have lead discussants. So we have 2 pros, 2 cons, and 1 unsure.
Mhm.
They have small group discussions
Mhm.
and then they give a presentation about their position. And it's not a debate or an argument. It's really, this is the position. This is how I see things. And that's it. And
How-
everybody just listens.
How old
So
are the kids in your class?
first and second year university. So like 18 to 20.
Do they have like political opinions at that point in their life? Like, do
I
they
mean,
know?
I certainly did.
Yeah.
But not everybody does. Not
Sure.
everybody is into it. And so that's part
And
of the
it
thing.
changes. It can
does.
change
Yeah,
over
yeah.
time. I mean,
Absolutely.
So on that vein, I'm gonna try and corral you guys back now
I'm
because
fascinated by this.
I know
like
you are,
talking about
but
history.
that's an off-air thing.
Not
What
really.
about
Yeah,
it
there's
is.
nothing off
It
there.
has-
This
but
is a
that doesn't
reality
have
show
anything
right
to-
here.
Oh boy, this is
Yeah.
this is.
Gonna have a drink.
People
we're
are
talking
gonna-
about American history. People
I know,
that,
but she's here
by
to
the way,
talk
there's
about
some
the
people that are being
issues.
rude.
I
Some of
know,
our
I
listeners are being
know.
rude,
They-
and I blocked one already
I
for
know.
being a rude ass.
Yes.
I'm sure
So,
you get it all the time.
what
So just
about
people being dumbasses.
the environment? Let's go through
Okay.
the issues, and then you can talk to her about the college thing.
The environment.
He's a big history, so I get it. But go ahead.
No, it's good. I love it too. I love talking about government.
Yeah.
I'll talk about, and one of the biggest things from when I was in college was
Uh-oh.
sitting and talking to somebody else who I disagreed with
Right.
all night long. We would sit, drinking beers, just having
And
chats.
debate.
It was
And
great.
yeah.
I loved it. And I'm trying to cultivate that in my students. But the environment, look, we need it. We're sitting on the beach. We want to be able to swim. We want it.
Very profound statement.
You're
The
for
environment.
clean
We need
water.
it.
for clean water.
Yeah, you
for-
and the throngs of others. I
everybody
know
else. But
everybody
it's
else.
also our businesses, right? These small
It is
businesses
our
here.
economy. Yeah.
And the fishermen, the charter boat captains, everybody hates when we get the distributions from Lake Okeechobee. It destroys businesses for that time. They hate it. So I want to make sure that on this coast, because this is what happens, by the way. So Lake Okeechobee, east to Port St. Lucie, west down to us. Guess who's in charge on the east coast? Democrats. Okay, Democrats put environment front and forefront, and guess how much they get in the pollutants on their side?
Well, Brian Mass is a
They
Republican.
get about a quarter.
They get zero.
And but
But
I
Brian
know.
Mass
All
is
right.
not a
But,
Democrat.
We're not
but
organized
also, your point is well taken. But the St. Lucie is much smaller. The Caloosahatchee is much bigger. It does need some water in the dry season. And I just, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
No, she's not. She knows the water.
And the
that's her
other thing is that the releases from the lake, when there's, when dirty water gets released is a problem. But we have a huge watershed, and there's a ton of stuff that's coming in through that watershed that has not been coming from the lake. So it's also the responsibility of someone to work on that.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Listen, this is like many issues here. It's complex.
Right.
And one of the problems of being a politician is people don't want to talk about complexity. But I'm a systems person too. So I love, I know this part. So we actually need everybody to work in coordination on this. And this is where we do lose out on this coast, because we do not have as much of a united front as the East Coast does. So we,
For sure.
Everything from the septic tanks to the water runoff to the legacy pollution in Lake Okeechobee to Mosaic and the mining to the ag industry, both sugar and oranges. And actually, if you talk to the scientists, the oranges end up doing a lot more because it's coming south, right into the watershed. You want to talk about the ranching too. They play a role. Individual households play a role.
And you need, you need ag, and you need those industries here. It's not about demonizing the whole right.
It's about everybody doing the right thing. And if you make a mess, you clean it up. Just like when you're a kid at home, right? If you have pollution coming off of your property, you should be held accountable for that, whether you're an individual homeowner.
And that's the thing. Who's going to hold them accountable for implementing those best
and it's everybody. Management. So there are state municipal functions that do that. There are county functions that do that. And then there's the federal EPA that plays a role. They all play different roles. And one of the things that has happened over the past several governorships in Florida is there was a lack of political will to actually prosecute violations of environmental breaches. And that, I think, has been really significantly detrimental to us here in Southwest Florida in particular.
How can I take your class? Am I allowed
you can
to
audit my class?
Yeah.
I can what?
You can
audit the class.
What does that mean?
It means you pay for it, but you don't get credit for it.
Are you over 65?
No.
Okay.
Oh, you're asking me because I look like I am, Cindy? I mean, why did you do this? Like, nobody's going to hear what you said.
No, because I'm saying actually the university that I'm not allowed to mention, but it's the largest university in our area. But the university actually has a seniors program where they can audit and take any of the classes.
She just called me a senior citizen.
No, I'm just
saying.
She
was just trying to get you a discount.
I was trying to get you a discount.
How many weeks is your class? And
16 weeks.
16 weeks of what is it? A 3-hour class a week, or how does it work?
Actually, it's 1 hour. It's hybrid online. So we have online videos.
Even better.
I would love to take your class.
You absolutely can. I invite everybody. And, talking about that too. So when we're talking about the 2020 election, one of the women that was running in the Republican slate was my former student,
nice.
Christine McLaughlin.
Oh, wow.
Now, I have to say, Cindy, the last time, I don't know if you remember, we interviewed you at Cantina 109 with Brandon. That was a hostile crowd, but you had supporters there from the school. You were loud and crazy and and yelling, and now you're like a different person, though.
I'm a different person.
You're calm, and it was just you had more Bloody Marys that day, or was just
at the beach. We're a little bit more calm here.
No,
I was trying to get the crowd.
You sure were. You did. You did.
Fired up.
But
there.
I do think that this, for me, in the middle, older, that more of a dialogue like this is beneficial.
Yeah.
Than,
it was a rally kind of thing.
You went after him, which is fine, but sometimes there's a hint of sarcasm, and sometimes it doesn't always,
What? I'm watching you. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Carefully through this. I'm saying that sometimes that doesn't always play well because for me, I do want to hear. I want to hear your points, and I want to hear his points. I don't agree with either one of you. 100%.
Are you saying that you don't think that people look at women doing that? Is that what you're saying? And
I don't know. I don't think it's a male.
I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
I personally don't like someone when they're trying to get their point across to just get it across intellectually and professionally versus when two people, like, it's one thing when you and I go at each
Right, we're not
other.
running for
That's a
anything.
different thing.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
No,
That's all. And so I appreciate that you have come down here
For
today
sure.
and conducted this way, and that we
Absolutely.
haven't devolved into any
So listen,
name
in the
calling.
cantina. So yeah, it was a ruckus crowd.
It was crazy
was.
that day.
And that was like right after the primary too.
Yeah.
So Byron and I were both coming off of big wins. Frankly, nobody anticipated either me or Byron winning our primaries. So, and that
True.
was like right away. And I knew I was stepping into.
You didn't think you were going to win that, your primary, or you?
I was underdog. David Holden was the 2018 nominee, and like I said,
Oh.
he had $200,000 more than me in the bank. So every metric would tell you
Well,
he would be the guy.
So
to win.
why do you think you won that primary? I mean, what got you over the top
How
there?
much
What
did
was
you might have said this? How much did you win by? Was it a big?
16 points. It was huge. That's a huge margin.
So how did they get it
Because
so?
Byron in his thing, it was
like 700 votes. Yeah, it was.
So moving on to the next part of that, like now you're running against an incumbent. It's a big difference. You talk about the money. They're gonna funnel millions of dollars into an incumbent. He's a popular incumbent in a county that's a Republican county. What are your chances, realistically?
So we were actually one of only 5 districts in the state of Florida that moved in the Democratic direction in 2020. That's a fact, right? So even though we like to say that this is a Republican place, we're actually winning over Democrats in the voting time a lot, and that's why I say the MPAs are a big wild card. I flipped 50,000 votes towards the Democratic direction in 2020 on a very small amount of money. It only cost me $4.44 to do that. And that, again, is the most efficient in the state of Florida. That's my calculation of how much money I had versus how many votes I flipped. So basically, long story short, is that my ground game, the ability that I have to reach people, my tenacity, the ability that I'm working all day, all night, I'm dragging my kids everywhere, doing everything that I need to do, I think will make a difference as opposed to somebody who can just throw money at it and pop on TV.
But okay, so answer the question, Cindy. What are your chances to win?
I'm hoping to make some inroads here. And I think that if you work hard enough, that miracles can happen.
Well, I mean,
there you go.
You're saying you flipped him the last time, at least in the Democratic. Are there enough Democratic voters? Let's say 100% of the Democrats vote for you.
Yeah, you're still going to
I know the numbers.
How many do you need to flip from the other side to win?
Well,
from the middle.
It also is a turnout issue, right? So midterms, you don't know. It's a wild card. And I'm going to throw it out there. I think both Roe and January 6th are going to be wild cards in this election as well, because there's a lot of women who are very upset. There's a lot of Republican women that I know who are very upset about the Dobbs decision. Will they vote for me? Will they stay home? We'll see. Those are both as good for me, frankly.
Well,
then January 6th. Now, Byron has not been out front of that, but he was absolutely at the Trump speech that day. And he has been supportive. He has done interviews with people who were in the Capitol that day. And I think that there's a lot of folks who were very worried about what happened that day. Again, will they vote for me? Will they stay home? I'm not sure. But I think what we're finding out about that will absolutely make an effect on this election.
All right. Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you what I think, and then I want you to tell me what you think about what I think. Not that what I think matters, but from a Republican side. I think I love the January 6th hearings because I think that they damaged Trump and they helped DeSantis. And I think DeSantis is going to be the next president.
Interesting.
That's just my opinion. I don't think the January 6th hearings will mean it. They're not going to indict Donald Trump. They're just going after him politically. And I'm happy with that because I don't think he can win. I don't even think he can beat Biden. But I think that DeSantis is sitting in the wings. He's so popular on the Republican side.
Right.
You can't argue with that. On the Republican side, he's popular. He could be the next president because he's kind of less rough around the edges than Trump is. And I don't think that he's worried about the January 6th hearings because they help him.
Yeah.
And do you really think that the abortion thing is going to flip voters? I know people are very emotional about it, but I mean, do you really think that?
I do. I know that there's been a lot of prominent women, conservative and Republican women here in Southwest Florida alone that have come out in favor of ensuring access to reproductive health care and body autonomy for women. And again, how that plays out.
You think that'll be enough to
We'll have to see. I don't know. You can't because some of these things.
I mean, that's the thing. When there's one issue,
will they be galvanized? Will they show up? Will they stay home? We don't know. And keep in mind, we're talking about only 27 to 28%, if we're lucky, of the electorate will show up on a midterm year. So we're talking about a small number of people. So it's very interesting. You're really talking about motivated voters and what it is that they're going to do, and what's going to motivate them to come out or stay home is going to make or break this election.
By all indications, this is going to be like a huge turning point for the Republicans. Like they're everywhere in the country, they're talking about a red wave and things like that. I mean, is that
could be?
What do you think from what people you talk to and what you hear, what's going to happen?
I mean, obviously I don't have my finger on the pulse of the red wave
We won't hold
maybe as
you
much
to
as
it.
you do, but again, like I said, I think this is going to be a wild card year. The other thing that's really fascinating as a data person that we've actually seen an uptick in the number of people over the past several years that have voted in both the general election, the primary elections, general elections, as well as presidential and non-presidential years. So it's really hard for pollsters to estimate anything because, like I said, the last 2 years, so 2018, 2020, we had 27% of the people vote in the midterm years. So that's 2018, and and 28 and 27%. Before it was 24. The cycle before that, it was only 16%. So there is a political awakening. What that means at the ballot box, I mean, it's really we're going to find out.
Nobody knows, right?
We're going to find out.
I mean, and if it changes, political things change all the time depending on who's in the White House. But let's say you get elected. Well, let me back up. Did you ever think of moving to a more democratic area where you could get elected more easier? I'm not saying you won't.
I'm not going to lie. People have asked me because I'm a strong candidate.
Yeah.
And heck yeah, it would be easy. Listen, I go up to Tampa, Miami. I could win a race probably a lot easier. Okay. They walk in, Democrats walk in those stacked districts.
Politicians do it all the time.
Right. I know. Well, first of all, I'm not a carpetbagger at heart. Okay. I'm really like a community person. I've raised my family here. I have a vested interest in seeing Southwest Florida be successful. The other thing is I legally can't leave. And there's a lot of people like me because that's what my divorce agreement, that's my custody agreement with my children are. And unless that very contentious relationship with their father suddenly materializes into hearts and roses and we could very easily move to another place, I really have no choice but to stay here.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that that's the reason why I'm not moving. The reason I'm not moving is because I have worked in this community for 13 years to make it a better place to live. And I believe in this community. But there are other circumstances that mean that this is it. So
well, full transparency, I think, like you said, I mean, yeah, your reason for staying is that someone would say then, well, you can't, blah, blah, blah. So it's good to just put everything out there.
Yeah. I can't leave. So you guys are stuck with me.
No,
and I'm going to be fighting. And I'm going to be
guess.
convincing people that what I say matters. And that's what I think is important is that we have these dialogues.
Are you getting enough coverage? Are you getting enough? I mean,
about issues?
Yeah,
because you've really not let her get
I think we talked about a lot of issues, dear. Well, there's plenty of time before the election. We can always have her back.
We haven't hit on education.
So, don't run everything in the first show. The other question, let's say you get elected, Cindy.
Okay.
What are your goals when you get there?
Well, I would say right now, at the beginning of the 118th Congress, one of the first things that I'm going to do.
Yeah, he gets a bell for that. Whenever I rarely ever say that's a good question to him, but when someone says it, the bell rings. Good. So go ahead.
Okay, so the 118th Congress, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that we are putting equality and reproductive freedom into law at the federal level. I think that's really important to make sure that everybody has the access to care and that everybody is treated equally under our Constitution. And that this is the balance and basically what the Supreme Court has asked us to do. So that will be the first thing.
You're including general healthcare, like healthcare issues in there, or just specifically?
I mean, I want to say I am specifically going to work to protect abortion care, but I am also a healthcare advocate. I want to make sure I'm, like many people, dismayed with the cost of drug prices, right? Ron DeSantis came here to Cape Coral yesterday to talk about that. I hate that, right? The cost of care. My youngest daughter, who you see right there, cherub face, beautiful now, but when she was an infant, she had a rare blood disease. We were in and out of the hospital. One trip costs $1 million on paper. Now, we had healthcare to cover that, but I still owe the hospital thousands of dollars because the insurance company denied the care that she got in 2018. Now, how is that fair? And so I just think that we really need to take a hard look at our healthcare system, because I think that's going to make more Americans happier, healthier, and more prosperous, and us as a nation grow stronger.
All right. So, did you have another question, dear?
Well,
what else? Anything else when you get elected? Is that?
I mean, those are some of my top priorities.
Okay.
Of course, I'm also going to be making sure that we're getting the funding that we need back in this district. So getting the special projects that we need funded, but also making sure that we are funding those water restoration projects, our Everglades restoration projects, and building the infrastructure.
That
has been great about that.
That has taken off.
Yep.
Finally.
So why should people not vote for Byron?
Why can't you just say?
Yeah, she's got an opinion on it. Come on.
Vote for her. The people, let her say why they should vote for her. You're kind of leading her into the thing.
I'm sure you have an answer for it.
Leading me into the lion's den.
I'm sure you have an answer for it.
Well, so I will say that compared to my opponent, I live right here in Lee County. My family lives here in Lee County. My kids go to public schools. I work at a public university here. I've worked for our community in the nonprofit sector for the better part of a decade. And I'm very much committed to making this a better place. I'm a regular person, working person's got to get up every single day, take their kids to school and work. I'm not somebody who's got a pile of cash that I get to burn and just pretend like everything is all right for everybody else. I really, truly understand the struggles of the everyday people in this community and the people who live here all year round too, and I want to make this the place where we can thrive. As I say, create a Southwest Florida where the sun shines on everyone.
Cindy, thank you so much for coming on. We hope to have you back a few times before the election, and good luck with your foot. And when does the class start? When's your next class start?
Oh, August.
Oh, cool. So I will call the college and see if I can get online. So thank you, and please have breakfast and enjoy the morning.
Are you able to, when you're doing it online and hybrid? So for the people that are online, do you have a mute button?
Oh my gosh.
So that you can, because be prepared.
I understand why you got divorced now. Was he a Republican? Is that what happened?
It's more like a libertarian.
Okay. I don't know what that is, but
sorry, nobody.
Are you
really
a libertarian or?
No, I was reading about it this morning.
I see. Thank you, Cindy, so much for coming down. We appreciate it very much. All right, dear. I'll let you take care of the transition there, and I'm going to tell everybody about Royal Scoop. Royal Scoop is the official ice cream of Fort Myers of Beach Talk Radio. That's our show, and they have 52 homemade flavors. It's all homemade ice cream. Royal Scoop ice cream is made by Royal Scoop for Royal Scoop with a 14% cream rate. That's a lot of cream, I'm guessing, because otherwise, why does it say 14%? I mean, what's the difference? 14, 16, 18%. That's a lot of cream in the ice cream. Royal Scoop FMB voted #1 for best customer service on the beach, voted #1 for best ice cream on the beach. Portion size, best value. If you want ice cream, you got to go to Royal Scoop. And if you don't know where they're located right next to Tuckaway Cafe. So you can get a beer at Tuckaway Cafe because they're doing the new craft beer thing. And you can also get ice cream from Fort Myers Royal Scoop of Fort Myers Beach. The official ice cream of Beach Talk Radio, because we love ice cream here on our show. Well, Kim loves ice cream. She eats it every day, as you can tell. Love handles on the side there. All right, everybody, if you're tired of wasting money on gas sitting in traffic, you know what I'm going to tell you about. It's the fabulous-looking, long-lasting batteries of Island Carts FMB. They tooling people around this beach like you wouldn't believe. Island Carts FMB, a golf cart company, once again, run by local people, the local residents. And they have one goal in mind, and that's to churn out happy customers. You see them bright and shiny. You don't see dumb, old carts with dead batteries that are running out of juice on the corner. You see them everywhere, and they're high-powered, and they're street legal. And they have 4- and 6-seaters. So you could put your mother-in-law, you could tie your mother-in-law to the back so she can drag her feet.
You don't have to tie them on. They have great seats.
If you have a big family, you just tie the mother-in-law to the back and see if she can hold on. Duct tape her to the back of the, or maybe on the roof like Romney did.
When you said churn, I thought you were reading the ice cream thing.
I read the ice cream thing. By the way, they've been voted #1 for everything.
Oh yeah.
As far as ice cream goes, and I said that you love to eat ice cream.
I love to eat ice cream. I loved all the treats that they brought, and you really loved the chocolate covered Oreos.
I didn't eat any chocolate covered Oreos. There's
I will
such
say,
a lie. That's a lie.
The taffy, taffy's. Some people like it, some people don't, I guess. But the taffy is really good. Everything's good, but the taffy is really good.
By the way, you can take your golf cart from Island Carts FMB down to Royal Scoop.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for coming down. Thank you, Cindy. Oh man, she looks like that hurts. That looks like that thing hurts.
Tough to navigate.
She's got that cast on, and then she's got not only the cast on, but you got to keep the foot. You remember when we had the plantar fasciitis and you had to keep your foot straight, otherwise you fall asleep and your foot starts to drift down, and you feel like that somebody just ran your foot over.
Tightens under there in your arch. Hey, so
wait a second.
I want to talk about
844 FMB cart. 844 FMB cart. If you need a golf cart. Now, don't go anywhere because I'm going to still tell everybody about my tour this morning if you missed it. But go ahead, dear, because you missed this ad twice.
I know.
And I'm going to go to the men's room so we can chatter.
Does this mean I should read it twice? Uh-oh. I'm looking. Go. I'm looking at the post. Christy. That my mom is a good sport. Yes, she does have to be. Is that because his comments about putting a mother-in-law, which he would never do? He treats her with respect most of the time. I hope that she will validate that statement. So anyways, and one thing I would like to do with my mom next time she comes is just this. Fort Myers Tiki Tours. You get that. We've done it once. But I would love to do it again. We need to get back out there. Now is a great time to do it. I got to turn this music off in my background. There we go. You get on the boat. It's a floating tiki boat, folks. There's 6 seats, so up to 6 people. You're sitting around like on little bar stools. You can converse. You can bring your music. You can bring food and whatever beverage you would like. They're able to keep it cool because they have a cooler and they bring the ice. And obviously they supply the certified captain. You're not allowed to like go out there yourself and be, putting out a wake, which I want to talk about that again too. But Fort Myers Tiki Tours, boy, dear, you were back quick. 239-887-0042. Sunset Tours. During the day tours, 90 minutes of nothing but relaxation and fun. You can do sightseeing.
Lock them in the bathroom.
All right, I've tried that before.
That's funny.
So they're over at Salty Sam's Marina. Again, the phone number 239-887-0042, or just go online at FortMyersTikiTours.com. And please tell them you heard it here. Tell Craig, hey, I heard it out of Kim's mouth.
Very nice.
And so we want to come and do a tiki boat. And if you have an empty seat, an extra seat, one of us is always available. Probably, I'm more congenial, but whatever you want, Well, but I did want to say too, I want to go back to if you're riding on the tiki boat, you can't put out a wake. Please, folks, I said this last week, but it's still bothering me. When you're in those manatee zones, when there's kayakers out in the bay, don't put out a 17-foot wave. We can't deal with it, and the manatees can't deal with it, and it kills off the seagrass. So please, unless you're on fire and then jump in the water, you don't need to be going that fast.
You done lecturing the people?
I'm lecturing the ones who are breaking the rules.
So before we get to the discussion about the tour that we had of Margaritaville, the one thing I have a question for you, because I was a little taken aback by the fact that you drove from Gateway to 41 to get your eyebrows plucked. really, you can't figure out a way to stay at the house with scissors and fix your eyebrows or a razor or something that you actually, how much did it cost?
Clearly,
how much?
$15.
So $15, $7.50 per eye to get your eyebrows plucked. I mean, what the hell?
No, it's called threading. And so they take what might actually be, but definitely looks like dental floss, and they twist it up. She twists it up, and I really like her. She's so funny. She's very fast. She gets you in and out, but she's very, very funny. She's got a great sense of humor. And she does
$15 to get your eyebrows
She does
plucked.
a ton of stuff.
I mean, what is
she does tinting, where you can get them tinted, but you can't exercise or swim for 2 days.
So my family is down here from Long Island. Is that the reason you got your eyebrows plucked?
Well, no. I mean, we were planning on going out of town. But
I don't remember you ever saying, I'll be back in an hour. I'm going to get my eyebrows plucked.
I do it. I didn't do it for a very, very long time because I did wax one time,
and I could tell.
It was bad.
Geez, they were coming over your eyes,
and I didn't
covering
notice.
your eyes.
I didn't notice what a difference it made till I went and got them done, and I was like, "Wow!"
I mean, who notices? Like you went out of the house.
You do notice.
You went out of the house, and I saw your face, and you came back, and I didn't say, "Wow."
Well,
where did all that hair go from your eyebrows?
You don't notice anything. I could come in bald, and I'm not sure you would notice.
I would notice the bald part, but I'm just telling you, who plucks their eyebrows? Is this lady's business?
Oh my goodness!
Just an eyebrow plucking business? Does it say pluck your eyebrows $15? I mean,
no. Do you want me to give the name out?
Give the name out. What do we care?
All Things Beauty, and it is, it's on 41 by.
So you spent $30 in gas to get your $15 eyebrows plucked.
No, it didn't. It didn't cost that much. It's near Bell Tower.
Yeah.
Behind Bell Tower. But she is great, and she does a ton of other stuff, and it's very relaxing. She was telling me a story that 2 people fell asleep while they were getting stuff done.
Steve, our friend, makes a good point. Why not just use tweezers? Like, let me do. I'll do it for $9.99. I'll give you a shot of bourbon, and I'll pull some eyes out, some hair out of it.
You have to shape them, and there's an artistic quality that goes into that.
Okay. All right. So the other thing is this morning, folks, from 7:30 to 8:30 was an hour long. If you didn't get a chance to watch the video, you're going to have to rewind a little bit. We got the full behind the fence tour of Margaritaville. And man, it just from the rooms on the other side of Estero to the pool, the way the pool, you could just see the excitement and hear the excitement from Tom when he talks about the La-Di-Da bar and the 24-hour a day bathrooms that are going to be open to the public by the bridge. And I talked to him after I shut the camera off about they're building the walkover bridge. There's going to be bathrooms that are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to the public, right below, the bridge in that area there. And so obviously,
the bridge.
Yeah. Well, the bridge isn't up yet. They're going to
the walkover.
They're building the walkover.
It's not a bridge. I was like, what?
It's a walkover bridge, whatever. So they're building the walkover off the island now. And then one night in August, they're going to just deliver it, and the people will wake up the next morning and it's going to be there. And I was talking to Tom afterward. And so I'm going to go over there when they're dropping it in and do another video. It might be 3 a.m. or 4 a.m, which is perfect for me.
Right.
That's the perfect time for me. So it's just coming along great. And you can see how many parking spaces.
Maybe you could be the first person to walk across it.
I don't think so. I'm not important enough for that.
Well, you don't like heights, so I don't think you'd be able to do it.
Oh, my God. You should have saw the video this morning. It was like Tom walks out to the edge, and they only have the 2x4. And I was like, Tom, that's a little high. It's only 3 stories, 3 floors up. But he's out on the edge, and he's talking. I'm like, hey, I'll be back here with the camera. Come on back whenever you're ready. And so it's just
you're not good
the
with
pool
that.
thing. The thing that I didn't know that the entertainment, I still can't even picture it. How it's going to work is there's going to be entertainment in the pool. Like there's either going to be a stage at the end of the pool. It's going to be, what it reminds me of is the Gaylord. The experience. It's just an experience to go to the Gaylord in Orlando. You go up there and you never have to leave that resort because they got 3 pools and they got different kinds of restaurants and they've got inside they've got alligators and things. Now I don't think
I don't know if they still do. Yeah, I don't know if that. And they have the koi fish, and then they have stuff in.
Yeah.
Remember
Very
down
cool.
below that like different reptiles that you can go
Yeah.
and see.
And they have big events and stuff like that. But
They have a nice gym.
He's going to have a gym here.
Oh,
He showed me where the
nice.
gym was going to be. It's going to be
Nice.
facing the lighthouse. He's not sure yet if it's going to be open to the public, but it looks like it's a decent sized gym. And I don't know how many, I'm guessing some of the other resorts on the island have a gym, but if it's open to the public, that would be really cool. At least one person
Yeah,
in
I
the
don't
public.
know.
It would be really cool. But what was the other thing that I wanted? 330 people will be allowed to, local people will be allowed to buy a day pass, even if the resort is full, go to the pool, hang out at the pool. They're going to have these watches kind of thing where you don't have to wait. You know how you go to the pool and if the gate is locked, you have to wait for the guy to come over.
Right.
Well, you're going to get a wristband and it's going to open the gate. The pools are going to have your information on. The towels are going to have your information on it. So it's a whole high tech thing. The whole thing is crazy high tech.
Seamless. You'll have a seamlessly
Yeah.
fun experience.
So my family is down and they're supposed to come over today. And my brother is down with his wife and their neighbor and his 4 kids and their 2, 3, how many grandkids? 3 grandkids. And so
we had so much fun going
Yeah.
over there and hanging out with them. And we
Right.
got to hold the baby. And there's a picture of you holding the baby, which
Yeah.
was super cute.
I didn't realize how small babies are.
Neither did I.
Wow.
She's tiny, but she's only 2 months old. She's
Yeah.
teeny.
And so yesterday you almost got crazy enough to for
Oh,
one day. We have them come over for one day. She's probably spent $5,000 on food and
No, I've got
furniture.
great
and
deals. Your sister
the house has never been
really
cleaner. The
contributed
dog's got a
lot.
bath.
Your sister has done a
Yeah.
lot. She has done a lot. So,
All right, everybody. We've
but I do need to clean,
holy
and
Christ,
you need
it's,
to set it up.
10:30.
Okay, let's
We
go.
got to go. So let's roll out of here. Say thank you to everybody.
Fort Myers Tiki Tours. Give them a call or get them online and make your reservations, please. I've let 2 weeks go and I owe them.
We're done with the ads, dear.
Okay.
Go thank Cindy for being on the show. If you go to our website, beachtalkradionews.com, you're going to sign up for our newsletter. The newsletter is not about the show. The newsletter is about the news. The Fort Myers Beach news. We have some Sanibel news. Anything that has to do with the beach. Sometimes there's Lee County news because Lee County has a lot to do with Fort Myers Beach at times. So sign up for our newsletter, and you're going to get a newsletter every Tuesday and Friday before 7 o'clock. It's going to have everything to do with Fort Myers Beach news for sure. Now, the town council is off for the month of July. They'll be back in August, but there's still other things going on. You can see it all on our website, Beach Talk Radio News. Sign up for the newsletter. We appreciate you guys donating, whoever you are, wherever you donate from. And, we're always open to suggestions, too, about guests, how to make the show better. I know Kim sometimes a pain in the ass, doesn't like to listen to suggestions or just wants to stick to her straight and narrow way of doing things. But I like to listen to the public, listen to the listeners out there, and try to incorporate things for change. And so we'll be back next week with another great episode. Oh, I don't know what happened there. All right, everybody, you have a great weekend. Thank you all, and bye-bye.